Hi, this is Kent, and this is Blues Piano Lick number 5. I call this one Ba-doo-dee-you-bop because the first part of it is Ba-doo-dee-you-bop. Here it is. We're going to start in the key of C. We're going to start with the thumb on C, and then I'm going to slide off from E flat to E. Common thing in the blues piano. Middle finger on G, fourth finger to A, and then we do an octave here. That's what we have so far. Second half of this is very similar. I'm just starting on the thumb, and I'm going to hit the E flat by itself. So the essence of the first part is it's just that I slide to the E. And then the second part is the two halves of this are designed so that the first part goes with the C7 chord in the traditional 3-chord blues in the key of C. There's C7 in my left hand here. So this first part goes with that. And the chord that's being outlined is like a C6 chord here. There would be C7, C6. Now the second part's supposed to go with the F chord, the F7, which is the second chord of the 3-chord blues. You notice I have to pull my hand away when I'm going. Pull my left hand out of the way. Let's use a walking bass line. There it is, the whole thing in C, which includes, like I said, the C7 chord and the F7. The thing is, though, when we actually move up to the F7 more permanently, we're going to shift up here and do the same type of riff up here. And then you can do like a standard turnaround. We'll use this one that I use a lot in these lessons. Okay. Okay, so let's analyze what's going on here. We have this, you're going to hear that in a lot of tunes in the blues, this series of notes. Now, I'm going from a C6 chord here. When I go to the F chord, the only thing I'm changing is going from E to E flat, which is an essential thing to do in the blues. When you go, from C7 to the F7, you got to bring this guy down to here to match the F7 chord. The major sound to the minor. That minor happens for sure when you're going to the F7. So that's essential. It's one of the cardinal rules of the blues, if there are any rules. If you stay tuned to the end, I got a little story about Miles Davis getting into an argument with Charlie Parker about that type of movement in the blues, from the major down to the minor on the second chord. You're really best just to follow this rule. Charlie Parker was trying to say you can play any notes over any chord, including that type of movement. You could really get away with this, but You'll see later if you want to hear the story. Okay, so the first part is based on the C chord. Then when we move to the F, we're just altering it to incorporate the E flat. And then this part is just from the Mixolydian scale that you can use on C dominant. When I say C dominant, I mean the C7 chord. It's got that flat 7th step. Okay, so that's basically where it's at with that. I want to talk about transposing it now to use with other chords and other keys. We're going to use D7. Okay, so let's say we're doing blues in the key of D. Let's transpose this. The way to do it, instead of thinking note by note, is to look at the D6 chord. You can start with the D7 to get oriented, and then just bring that 7th down a half step to get to the 6th. So we're going to go to the 3rd. Now I can't slide off on that one, so I have to kind of go a grace note. On the C, I can slide, but when I'm going from a white key to a black key, you can't really do that slide off. So I'm going to have to go. And then I'm going to move my thumb up here. These are just fingering tips on this guy, because if I'm doing this, it's very hard to go without moving my thumb up. So the notes are going to be based on the 6th chord. So find the 6th chord and then slide up to the 3rd, or grace note up to the 3rd. And then the next thing is on the 5th. 5, 6, 1. So that's the principle to find that first part of it. Now, if I'm in the key of D blues, my next chord is going to be that G7. Let's play it as an inversion right here. So there's G, root, G7, going from here to here, or from here to here. Both of those things are nice movement from the 1 chord to the 4 chord. Now here we go. There's that minor 3rd that has to go with the G7. Minor 3rd from D. Major, minor. We're sticking to that blues rule. Going to the G. Okay. These notes are down to the 7th, down to the 6th, and down to the 5. You really need to know these steps of the scale, these numbers, to be able to follow the transposing stuff. Otherwise, you're just going to be doing stuff note by note. You don't want to have to take this pattern and then figure out how it's going to translate up, moving everything up a whole step. That's very tedious and confusing. You want to be thinking about the members of the chord and the members of the scale that go with it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 8. This is a flat 7 because in the key of D major you would have, that's the major 7 there. When you're naming the steps of the scale or the numbers of the notes in the chord, you're thinking of a major scale as your reference. Major 7th, and then that's the root of the scale, called the tonic sometimes, tonic. Here's our flat 7 though, because we have a dominant 7th chord going on. D7 has a flat 7, that's C. So then we go 5, 6, 1. Back to 1. First step of the scale. Minor third, major third, 1. So there it is on D. Let's do B flat. Now we can slide on this with B flat because I got a black key going to a white key. Sliding with one finger. So the fingering on this one's going to be just like on C. On certain chords, you're going to have to be able to okay, so that type of shape is going to involve moving your thumb. But in the case of B flat, we can go okay. Okay, now we're going to go to E flat 7. Here's an inversion. Second thing. That's a little bit of a muddy sound, I guess. So I would tend to go and just go. But anyway. Okay. Root, flat 7, 6, 5. All right. Hope that gives you some insight into transposing it. Okay, so here's that story. Miles Davis and Charlie Parker were having this argument about how much freedom you have to play pretty much any note that you want over any chord. And Charlie Parker was saying, you know, that you can play anything over chords, was sort of like the statement he made. And Miles and they kind of got into this discussion about all that. And Miles brought up as a, you know, really solid example was when you go from the one chord, which let's say in the C blues, you go from the C7 to the 4 chord, which is in the case of C blues would be the F7. Then you got to go from the E down to the E flat on the second chord, or you're just breaking the rules and it sounds horrible. And so Charlie Parker was saying, no, you can actually do that if you want. You can stay on the E. You can hit E. It's all right. Now, you know, anybody will agree that you can hit the E as maybe a passing note from E flat up to the F. You know, go to E flat, E, F really quickly, or the other way around. But, you know, Charlie Parker, I don't know if he was just trying to provoke Miles or whatever, but he was saying, no, you can do that E natural, you know, anywhere in that C blues. So later down the road, they're at a club, and I think it was Cannonball Adderley was up on stage. Cannonball Adderley, the sax player, and they're doing the blues, and Miles and Charlie Bird Parker were in the audience, and Cannonball plays let's say it was C blues. He plays an E when they go up to the F7. And so Charlie Parker turns around and gives this smug, smiley look at Miles like, see, there you go. But so later, though, Miles was saying, hey, he was bending the notes. He was sliding around. He wasn't really hitting that E. And I guess they never really agreed. But the thing is, you're totally safe, especially as a piano player, since you can't really be bending those notes, to make sure that when you're, let's say, in the C blues, you're playing a C7, totally cool and great to hit that E natural. But when you go back up to that F, the F7 chord, if it's an F dominant 7, because that has E flat in it, on that chord in the 12-bar blues progression, you better be really hitting that E flat or it's going to sound pretty bad. So I'm pretty much siding with Miles on this one. All right, so I'll talk to you later and see you in the next lesson. Thanks a lot for listening. Bye bye.